Hello, my name is Richard. I come from a country called Norway, and I have lived and ministered in China for a number of years. When I first arrived in China, uh, I was scared of anyone who wore a uniform, and I thought that surely someone would discover that I was a missionary. It's a communist country, and so when I saw someone in a uniform, I immediately thought maybe they were suspicious of me. And then I realized uh, almost anyone can wear a uniform in China. Even the street sweepers, they wear a uniform. So I learned to relax a little. But then there were so many people. I'm from a country that has, 4 million people, and I'm from a small island that has about 4,000 people. Because the city was so overwhelming to me, there's so many people everywhere. I couldn't speak the language. I didn't know the culture, and people were being so loud, and I didn't have my personal space. So after I've been there for a few days, I just didn't want to go out of the house. I was scared. It was overwhelming to me. But I felt God challenged me to step outside the door. And so I took a ping pong bat in my hand, and I went downstairs and I found a place where people play ping pong. And I met a guy there that I got to know a little bit, and later I got to share the gospel with him, and he said he wanted to follow Jesus. So overcoming that fear, it can lead to amazing things. And then the challenge became to disciple this guy, and he barely spoke English. I didn't speak any Chinese. So how to disciple this guy? It was a huge challenge with a lot of prayer. We started running something we call a discipleship training school in China. Our first school was 5 Chinese students, and we met in a room that had no windows. We had to be quiet. We had to be unseen, because this is not something you do in China according to the government. So we met there and had an amazing time. In the course of our time in China, we've seen probably about 100 plus students come through our schools, and we've taken them across to other nations around China to do outreaches and ministry with local churches in those countries. Some of the things that we have had challenges with is the fact that it can be challenging for Chinese to get their visas to go to other countries. But we didn't want to let that limit us. Instead, we prayed and trusted God for breakthrough. The first countries we went to in 2005 was Mongolia and India. And when we got to the border of Mongolia, they said they would not give us visas unless we gave them lots and lots of money. But we prayed and we sought God, and we went straight to the consulate, and they gave us visas within 30 minutes. And when we were in Beijing applying for visas to go to India, they said there was no way we're going to get the visas in time to make our flight. We prayed, we fasted, and we sought God. And right at the last minute, they stamped the passports and we could go. God has brought amazing breakthroughs. He's so faithful. He's not limited to history or the situation in that country that we minister in. And we've seen lots of breakthrough in finance. So many stories of how God has provided for young people to travel the nations with little to nothing in their pockets. God is an amazing, faithful God, and He is providing for the missionaries in China to go. And one story was a girl in our school. She had no money at the time, and I challenged the students to take up an offering. And I said, don't look at how much money you have in your pocket or in the bank account, and then ask God how much you should give. First, ask God, how much do you want me to give? And then you trust God for that amount. And so this girl, she prayed and asked God, and God said, give the equivalent of $100 US dollars. And so she wrote down 100 US dollars on a piece of paper with her name on it, and she put it in the offering basket. That weekend, she went to see some friends, and she had a good time, and she left to get on the bus. And just as she stepped on the bus, her friend said, wait a minute, I just felt God prompt me to give you some money. And so she handed her an envelope with money, and it was exactly $100. She came back to the school, and she put the $100 in the offering basket. And God has done this over and over again. My wife and I have spent many years in Asia, and specifically China. But personally, I have sensed the call to, in the story of Nehemiah, where a lot of people were assigned to different parts of the wall. They were focused on their specific place and their specific work. And I have been drawn to have more of a perspective of Nehemiah that looked at the whole wall. And I am excited about being able to travel and be in contact with people from around the world, and to see what God is doing, to see where He is breaking out, to see where the challenges are, to see what can I contribute in terms of discipleship and teaching, and making people aware of what's going on in different regions of the world. Because really, so many people are talking about the end times, and so many people are talking about a major harvest coming, revival coming, the kingdom coming, and I want to be right in the middle of that. And I want to do whatever I can to be on God's team, and to be on the team with everyone around the world that is doing God's work, regardless of where they are or what they're doing. I really have a desire to be part of that on a global scale. And so being called to Asia is great. There's an incredible opportunity there. There's a lot of work needed. But there's also, God is doing so many things around the world that I want to be a part of. And I feel God has stirred in me to teach, to disciple, to mentor. And I also see my need of God bringing breakthrough in areas of my life, and helping me fan the gifts into flame so that I can be effective in this day and age in what God is doing. And God is doing amazing things in China, and He is raising up many young people to follow Him and to trust Him to step out into the nations and be an incredible impact. We've seen a little bit of that, and we've seen people go short term, and we've seen people go long term to places like Nepal, and some are preparing to go to the Middle East. And so God is breaking out of China right now. And I'm looking so forward to partnering with what God is doing there, and to keep sowing and praying and giving and really being part of discipling and helping the Chinese to fulfill the destiny that God has laid upon them. So God bless you, and let's partner in this.